Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate S&S. I hope everyone's been having a great weekend. So we are looking at coming into 2023. We're looking at increased inflation rates. We're looking at the pricing of food continuing to go up. We'll start posting some stuff up here for you, and we're also going to be looking at the availability of food continuing to dwindle down. Now, I understand some of this is because of the fertilizer shortages that's happening around the world because of this war that's happening over in Ukraine, and other parts of it is just we're seeing like where the land and things like that typically used for farmland has been bought up, and for those who don't realize who's buying that stuff up, Bill Gates is buying most of that up. He's one of the largest landowners in the world now at this point, and owns most of the land that has been used in the past and historically in the past for producing food, but he's not using it to produce food. So that's one of the things we're going to see starting to really take impact here in the next year or so. I also think it's important that you are aware of the reason why you need to get to a sustainable lifestyle rather than just prepping, because yes, if you're just prepping, that's going to help you a lot, but understand at some point you're going to have to start really getting into those preps. Now that could be an SHTF event, or it could be an event where, like they took a Gallup poll here recently that says that 56%, mind you, 56% of Americans are now saying that the inflation is starting to negatively impact their family. That's 56% of Americans. That's not talking about people around the world. It's talking about right here in our homes, guys. And that is getting so hard that they're finding it hard to buy the food that they need for their families because of the price that's going up, but also that availability of the food's not really there. So um, definitely be getting food now. Buy as much food as you can, what you can afford. You don't want to go into debt on it. You don't want to do like some people are telling you, use your credit cards and max it out because you ain't going to have to pay that stuff back later. Yes, you will have to pay it back. Understand it could be a little bit before you see an SHTF event that actually completely wipes out the economy. They're going to continue to surge it and try to keep it going and get as much money as they can from you in the process. Something else you need to be aware of, they're talking about by 2024 getting to a cashless society, but also a paperless society. Now, what does that mean? Well, if you go to a cashless society, that's going to get into a lot of your digital currencies and things like that, which we've really seen a push for here in the last year or so. I don't know if you've seen some of the advertisements that come on YouTube and even on TV stations and stuff like that here lately. And they always have these actors and stuff that are up there, and they come up and they start talking about Bitcoin and stuff and how you need to be investing in that because that's the way of the future, going to a digital currency. The plan is worldwide, not just our country, but there's other countries right now that want to have this implemented by next year. There's actually 6 countries that are doing that right now to go away from cash. And they think that it's going to actually help lower the inflation rates because you're no longer dealing with cash. It's just digital numbers at that point. But experts are saying that no, it's going to have the opposite effect, which I fully expect it's going to have the opposite effect. But why do we even mention this on here? Well, if you've ever watched some of our other videos that we post out, guys, that's telling you about the times that we're in and things to watch for, a cashless society is going to be one of those things, a digital currency. A paperless society. When we're talking about paperless, we're not just talking about like receipts and things like that you get from the store. We're talking about, your birth certificate, social security numbers, driver's license, IDs, medical reports, medical history, vaccination histories, and stuff like that. It's all going to go digital, and it's going to come down to where they are really pushing this biometric chip that they're pushing over in the European Union right now. By next year, they want to have their entire populace chipped up, so everyone has cashless over there. They want to also make sure that they have a paperless society, so it has all your information right there, readily available, stuck in your hand. Now, for those who don't have hands and things like that, there are people who actually have, deformities or, they're missing body parts from wars or whatever. They said, oh, we can fix that too, and we can put it right here in the brow. Does that remind you of anything? We've talked about it on this channel. It's been talked about a lot on other channels and stuff. So I think it's important that you realize the times that we're in, and we're seeing all of this start to really form and take shape. And we're also seeing where you have these coexist movements and the stuff that's happening over in Israel right now, and and around the world, we're starting to watch as all of these different things we were told to watch about just before the end, just before the fall of what we call the common era. We're in an age to which we live in, just before all of that comes to a halt and it kicks in a new power. Okay, now understand we're not talking about the power that's going to come in for 1,000-year reign. We're talking about a 7-year period of time where it's going to be really hard to get food. You're not going to be able to buy any food or anything unless you are going to that digital currency, unless you're taking those chips that allow you to shop, allow you to work, and things like that. So Are we seeing where that's happening? Hey, that's what the reports are saying. That's the drive that we're seeing. And all of this in this country in 2024, mind you, we still have a couple years left in this presidency, and this has been the drive for what's been going on. So people have always wondered, why would we cripple our fuel production? Why would we be doing these different things up there that we see these politicians doing that's just hurting America? Well, it's to allow it to take shape and get the entire world on a certain path for one man to take over. And that's what we're seeing happening. So you need to be aware of what we're living in, the times that we're living in. But I hope you've been having a great day, guys. It's been really freaking cold out here today, so we didn't really get out and do any chicken videos or anything like that. So we'll try to get some of that of our chicks and stuff later. But everything's doing good. Our 3 that we'd hatched, it's been, I don't know, maybe not. We'll call it 9 weeks, about 8, 9 weeks now. Those chickens they're doing good. They're getting nice in size. Looks like we got 2 hens and a rooster out of that first batch of eggs we hatched out. And then we have our other 5 chicks that are still in the brooder. They'll probably be still in the brooder for another probably 4 weeks or so. I don't expect to see them come out of that brood until mid-December. And that'll probably be at the soonest. We just have to kind of keep an eye on what the weather's doing. But everything looks like it's going pretty good on those guys now. We've been giving supplemental light to our chickens to try and keep them laying year round. Now, understand their laying has slowed down quite a bit. They're still laying, not nowhere near as proficiently as they were before. But a lot of that is coming into the weather changes that we're having. So if you're raising chickens and they've stopped laying and you're like, well, I'm giving them light, what's happening with the weather? Are you starting to get more rain, or are you starting to get less rain, or starting to get those cold temperatures, and then you start to have those warm ups? And that's what happens down here in Florida is you'll have like a week where it's really warm. That's, we're talking, during the day and in the evenings, 60 degrees. That's perfect weather to keep them laying. But all it takes is a couple days where it drops down into the 40s and even the upper 30s, and it's going to affect their lay. So it's going to keep them lopsided. Chickens are pretty much, if you have a common temperature and a common, light source, as far as always providing at least 14 to 16 hours of light, they'll keep laying. But if you start getting those cold weathers, it doesn't matter how much light you provide for them, because they're going to stop. They're going to start slowing down. It'll force a molt. So what I've done is I've turned the light off back there. Go ahead and let them do their molt season and all that stuff. Get it out of the way. So when spring kicks back up, they'll be back in full bloom on that. But by then, we'll also have more laying hens that should really start helping us to be able to set it even further stockpile up. So during the spring, if you remember back, we were doing a lot of quail through spring and summer, and we were really bolstering those numbers up. Well, the reason I did that was so we can actually get egg supplies up. Okay, so then you water glass those eggs, and when you end up somewhere around 900 quail eggs or more, you set in these water glass jars and stuff like that, then you're good to go for the winter time. You can allow your chickens to rest. Your quail are going to rest. They're going to be ready to start laying in spring again, and that's what you want to do, especially if you're doing any kind of a flock animal, whether it's quail or chicken or guinea fowl or whatever it is. You want to make sure you get that spring and summer lay going really good. Build up your stockpile. Water glass those. For those who don't know what that is, it's where you use hydrated lime. That is not yard lime. It's actually a construction lime, and use it in water. And we've got some different types of hydrated lime that's available there. So you need to look at the type that you buy, and then you can actually look online and see what ratio of water to that hydrated lime, because it's not all going to be the same. So, but typically it's a ounce to a cup. But you're just going to have to look and see what it is that you've got there, guys. But it's going to give you the ratios online. You can Google it real quick. And that's going to keep your eggs preserved for up to a year. So that's pretty good. So come next spring, you should be just about through your winter stores of eggs and starting to, just start that cycle back over and build them up. And that's kind of what we're trying to do with our chickens now, too, like we did with the quail. Get the numbers up. When they start laying, then we'll be able to set those eggs back. Mind you, they'll keep for a few weeks on the counter. They keep for a few months in the refrigerator, but if it's May, you don't want to have those eggs just sitting in the refrigerator until next May, trying to build that stuff up. So take out what you're going to use for that day, or you can do it for that week at a time. Then everything else that you get, you want to lightly clean them off. That's talking about brushing them off. If you got poo or something, you can kind of, use a lightly abrasive type of a SOS pad or something with little green scrubbers, and you can knock the poo off of it. You don't want to wash them with water because you're going to remove the natural bloom. But once you get that filth off of it, just stick in that water glass. You don't want to just drop it in. So you want to set it down in it, and it's going to keep those eggs fresh for a year. You don't boil them or anything like that. Just put the egg in it. Make sure it's clean. Put it in there. Don't wash them off. So you're going to be good to go. Got your supply of eggs set up, several months supply of eggs set up. Hey man, that is how you build sustainability. That way you're not having to go out and buy eggs, because guess what? They're having poultry shortages because, hey, they've been killing millions of those birds here in America and around the world too. They've been killing them because of this H5N2 or something like that, whatever that new bird flu strain was that come through. So they had a lot of issues with the production of that. I think we're going to start seeing those prices continue to rise in our poultry. If you've went out and you've looked, you get 8 pounds of chicken for, about $8 or $9, but now it's going to cost you up around $30. It's insane. I can raise a hen, okay, just one hen that'll be an 8-pound hen, from birth to, butcher, for a heck of a lot less than 30 pounds. So, and you can take a 25-pound bag or a 50-pound bag that costs you about $12 at the feed store, raise that hen up along with a bunch of other hens, and you can actually end up with quite a bit more meat for your money. Same thing with eggs. And when you're looking at butter, if you are trying to figure out, why I like butter, but how long does butter keep? Well, most of the butter that you buy in the store is going to be margarine. It's not really butter. It's vegetable oil type butter. But get what you can, because guess what? They just reported there's going to be butter shortages. And we're talking about not just dairy butter, but we're talking about all forms of butter, including your vegetable oils and things like that. And why would we be facing that? Well, because vegetable oil comes from what? It comes from plants. And guess what? We're not being able to grow because of fertilizer shortage. Plants. Do you think they're going to bother trying to make vegetable oil for cooking when they can't even afford to put food on the shelf that you can buy, because there's just not as much of it there? Most of it's being canned and sold as goods rather than converting that over into the cooking oils. That's where that shortage is going to be coming from. But we have Thanksgiving coming up here pretty soon. I hope everyone's going to have a blessed Thanksgiving with their families, guys, because it's a great time of year. I know there's a lot of people that say, well, we don't really celebrate stuff like that because what happened to the Native Americans and things. Hey man, that's not why we celebrate Thanksgiving. It's a time of year where everyone typically has off of work so they can come together as a family. You get to see your cousins and your family members you typically don't get to see because everyone is busy with life. And you can come together and everybody brings some food and just have a great sit down and commune with your family. And that's what it's about, guys. Now, is that something you're into? If not, hey, that's your choice. Just as it's my choice to be, a type of person that celebrates that with family. So, but I'm going to hop off here again, man. Make sure you're getting food set back. Make sure you're prepping, because things are fixing really to get a lot worse. I mean, I know people are struggling now, but when you have 56% of Americans taking the poll and they're saying they're struggling so bad if it goes up any higher, and guess what? It's going to continue to increase. They're already looking at, they say there was a 7% increase this past year. That was actually closer to 22. You can't always trust the numbers you see in the news, guys. It's almost a 22% increase what we've seen in inflation so far. They're calling for about 7% next year. So you might want to guess that to be pretty close to the same. I'm guessing around 14 to 18% by next summer is what I'm expecting to actually see in the stores. So when they say that there's an increase this much, understand you're not going to see that small increase. You're going to see what's going to happen across the board. That's going to be up here is what you're going to be paying. So be prepared.